This Sunday is the first Sunday in Advent. Advent is a time of waiting, a time when we look towards Christmas and the birth of Christ. We walk through the darkness of waiting into the light of new birth. I see the 4 weeks which lead up to Christmas almost like a long straight pathway stretching through a forest of pine trees. A forest that is dense on both sides. The sky's dark, but it is not night. Rather, it's that darkness which comes as the winter day withdraws into evening. The trees have a dusting of snow, and the path I walk on is icy underfoot. In the far distance can be seen the outline of purple hills, beyond which there is a first faint light in the sky, left by a sinking sun. But as I move forward on this slender pathway between the tall trees, as I get closer to the hills, I realize that the sun is not setting, but rather it's rising, and the closer the hills become, the brighter the sun, until I stand at the bottom of the hills, the forest behind me, and the sun shining bright in front of me. So bright that the tops of the hills are now totally obscured from view by its brilliance. This light is Christmas morning, and the darkness has become light. And what is it that lies beyond this dazzling light? What lies beyond the story that begins in this light? What have I yet to find, to discover? I wonder. C.S. Lewis, the famous theologian and Christian writer, as you know, wrote the timeless retelling of the Christian story, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. If you recall, in the story, the children discover the wardrobe in the professor's house, which they walk through the back of into the snowy land of Narnia, to discover things about themselves and the world that they never imagined possible. The children find themselves at the end of the book back in the real world. The book ends with this sentence: "That was the end of the adventures of the wardrobe." But if the professor was right, it was only the beginning of the adventures of Narnia. So what is it that lies beyond the wardrobe and Narnia? I wonder. George Herbert, priest, poet, musician and theologian in the 17th century, wrote his famous hymn, "Teach Me, My God and King." I can remember as a child puzzling over the verses, the second of which reads, "A man that looks on glass, on it may stay his eye, or if he pleaseth through it pass, and then the heaven espy." Herbert was using the analogy of a glass window to explore 2 ways of understanding Christianity. He says that we can look at a window merely as a thing of beauty or as an object of interest, or we can go further by looking beyond the object to see what lies beyond the pane of glass. We gaze through many windows and see many things, wonders we would miss if we never looked beyond the glass. I've just read a book by Reverend Professor Alister McGrath. He, like C.S. Lewis, was an atheist who became a Christian. McGrath is a professor of both science and theology and has one of the brightest academic minds in the country. His latest book is subtitled A Journey Through Science, Faith and Doubt. He writes this: "All of us, whether atheists or religious believers, have to live to learn with uncertainty about those beliefs that we think really matter, such as the existence of God, the nature of good, or the meaning of life. It can be done." I think he means that we need to look beyond the window frame. Advent is the search for something which lies beyond the hills at the end of the snowy path, beyond the land of Narnia, beyond the glass of a window. All are just gateways to what lies beyond them, gateways which lead us to explore our own beliefs. Alister McGrath was influenced by Lewis and has written books about him. In his student days, he read an essay by Lewis entitled, "Is Theology Poetry?" the last line of which led him to think about and to explore what lies beyond what he knew to be fact. Lewis wrote this is the last line that so influenced McGrath in that essay. I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. Advent is the chance to look beyond the sunrise and to think about those things which really matter, the things which give meaning to life, those things which make us a part of God's great creation. This Advent is useful to read the Bible, to read the Gospels, but a good Advent book, I still think, is this one, this book by C.S. Lewis. As you read it, you begin to discover new things in it. You begin to find out new ways of looking at our world and new ways of looking at faith. And the good thing about it is, it's complicated, but not as complicated as reading some theology.